What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Any Saints fans feeling like their Saints hopes getting murdered yesterday in Houston as C.J. Stroud and a rookie quarterback, going against this defense. And even though it looked really easy early on, it's not like they finished strong, right? It's not like he finished with any sort of overwhelming numbers. And yet, you know, I'm always accusing Kirk Cousins of empty calorie games.
Yeah, you are.
Derek Carr's 350 here for 13 points. My man's just ate an entire bag of cheese puffs. And I love cheese puffs, so I get it. But ain't nothing good when you eat the whole giant, you know, little cheese balls, those giant barrels of cheese balls?
Yeah.
I can't control myself around them. They ruin your stomach. They're bad for you. And that was essentially what Derek Carr put on the field yesterday. Real tough to sit up here and not give, you know, and continue to defend that Derek Carr is an upgrade over Andy Dalton, unfortunately. He's pretty good up until the 30. Right? Like, the offense is actually great at not going 3 and out. They're great at getting a couple first downs, but my God, when they get close to the end zone, they just piss down their leg.
Yeah. The last series, once you got down there, like, you had a timeout. There's no rule in the NFL that says when you're in that situation, you can only throw between the hash and sideline. There's not a rule. You can use the middle of the football field. They weren't going to give you a 15-yard penalty. I think the Saints thought that.
And that's why you keep a timeout there. Like, that's the exact reason, to keep the entire field open.
So you can use the entire field. And I realized the protection was ish. I realized that. But, man, it was like, get the ball, throw a go route. Get the ball, throw a go route. Like, none of those plays were ever going to hit. And, you know me, like, the last thing that I want to do is sit here and ever say, oh, yeah, I was right. I got that. There's some people in this business that they love to do that. In fact, I think that's why they're in the business sometimes. I want to be wrong on Derek Carr. Like, I want to be wrong.
Yeah.
I want to come here and say, man, I got that wrong. So glad he's doing well in the black and gold. But it's just, it's the same stuff, man. There's a lot of yards, there's some stats, and there's some moments. Like, this isn't falling off a cliff. There's moments, but there's not enough. And in those times, and I realized the fourth quarter stat, right, of all the comebacks. And we were watching the game yesterday, and I'm watching it with my oldest son, who's a gigantic Chargers fan, like the biggest one I know, bigger than I am. And I'm like, look, it's okay. Hey, Derek Carr's got all these fourth quarter comebacks, the most of any active player. He goes, yeah, Dad, but 70% of those were against the Chargers.
Ha! Yeah, fair. But I mean, yeah, but through 2 games, that was the separating factor between him and Dalton. Is that he was still playing like Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
But unlike Dalton last year, who was just feckless at the end of games, he found you ways to make a big play and close out and win the first couple. And it looked like he had the potential to do that again this Sunday, and he blew it. Yeah. So if the one thing you're hanging your hat on, then you don't do, then you're just Andy Dalton. And so that's why yesterday is so extra disappointing. And look, he said after the game, you could tell, unacceptable, completely unacceptable. And he's right. And now you see all kinds of weird issues cropping up where we'll play the full audio. I think there's a curse word in it, so I got to double check that before we go live with it. But now you got DeMario Davis and Alvin Kamara both cryptically alluding to preparation. And talking about how every member of this team needs to be able to look themselves in the mirror and say, am I doing what I need to do in order to be ready for the game on Sunday? So somebody's obviously making people mad in that regard right now. We don't know who. It's just awful. It's another one like the Green Bay game where frankly, I don't think you hold a team to 3 points in the second half. You should never lose. Yeah. And that's in this offense. Just they cannot score 20 points, and the offensive line is awful. It is by far it is the exact Achilles heel weakness, glass ceiling that we thought it was going to be. Like, I'll say this for Derek Carr, if nothing else, If the offensive line was good, I do think you would be getting significantly better quarterback play. But when you pay Carr that amount of money, he's supposed to be able to overcome really bad offensive line play, and he's not. But make no mistake, the O-line right now is, the grades are awful. Everybody's in the 50s. It is unreal how poor they are. Then you got to kick Cesar Reeves at the right tackle. If you can't play guard in the NFL, if you can't pass block from the interior, you ain't going to be able to pass block at right tackle. That was bad. Trevor Penning's not even starting anymore, and then he has to come in. He gets sub 50% on the grade. Ugh. Terrible.
James Hurst, 59.5%. Now, pass blocking, he was actually pretty good. Run blocking, 45%. Right, so he was 84% in pass blocking. Eric McCoy was by far your highest rated offensive lineman, but even that was 66%. That's your highest graded offensive lineman. Ryan Ramczyk, 56.6%. Max Garcia, 57.2%. Saldivari, 51.2%. Trevor Penning, 49.6%.
What?
Cesar Ruiz, 43.9%. Pass blocking grade for Cesar, 23.6%. I'll say that again, 23.6%. Now, Trevor Penning playing in his natural position was
4
43.
of every 5 reps?
Yeah.
That's unfathomable.
Yep.
It's hard to win pass rush reps if you're a defensive player.
Yeah.
In
fact, if you had 35 rush attempts as a defensive end and you win 3 of them, that's a hell of a day at the office. Hell of a day at the office. In fact, that offensive lineman typically is worried about his job if he wins 32 of 35.
Yeah, and you're out here losing 4 of 5.
But again, he was playing certainly out of position. He's a center.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to make him a guard because you had Eric McCoy and you drafted him because you thought he could do it. He's a center, and you're kicking him out to tackle because out of necessity. And, Trevor Penning's playing in his natural position, and he's out there throwing out a 43 grade in pass protection and a 52 in the run game. That's egregiously bad.
Also, Blake Grupe, man. I don't know. There are far bigger problems than Blake Grupe on this team. Blake Grupe's obviously not having the bad impact play-to-play a la the offensive line. But we talked about it with Dennis Allen. You make that call, you better make sure that you're damn right. And maybe Lutz missed the same. So, okay, this isn't even like a Lutz Grupe thing anymore. The bottom line is you missed 2 kicks. If you hadn't, you would have been in line to take the lead there at the end. You wouldn't have needed a touchdown. You could have lined up for a field goal. These are the margins. And we said it was a bit of a dangerous call for Dennis Allen to side with a rookie over a vet, considering everything that this season means to him. He doesn't have the comfortability of a Peyton when he goes to the Lutz in year number 1 and gets to let Lutz work through some of his issues. If this continues, Dennis Allen is fired. And Grupe was poopy yesterday. And you end up scoring 3 in the second half because of it.
This Texans team's not a bad football team. They're really not. I thought the home crowd, by the way, on the TV, they were popping.
Yeah, they're pumped. They look like they got the best rookie quarterback in the class. It was a great feeling. And, oh my God, why am I blanking?
On what?
The head coach.
D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryans has them, has that entire team playing very well and bought in. And there's an excitement in Houston for sure.
But still a game that if you're the New Orleans Saints, right, you've got all these veterans. You have the advantage at quarterback, you would think, for right now. Well, C.J. Stroud down the road looks like he's going to be a hell of a quarterback. But you got the running back advantage, you feel like. You've got the receiver advantage, you feel like, okay? You've got the defensive advantage. That's the thing that's troublesome is outside the offensive line, you feel like you have major advantages against a team like the Texans, even though it's on the road. Look, it's easy travel. That is a hop and a skip. That is, we get on the plane, we're up, we're down. That's easy travel in the NFL. A lot of times you don't have that, right? So, yeah, it was loud, but you should be able, with a veteran team, to be able to handle some of those things. And I thought they didn't down the stretch. Certainly in that last drive, you could tell. They had to call a timeout. They were having a hard time communicating what they wanted to get done up front. And with a quarterback that's played as much as Derek Carr has, with an offensive line that has as many snaps as they have, you should even with the guy like Max Garcia in there, like you got to be able to get out the protection and go.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.